Good morning. Good morning. Hi, I'm James Frison. I'm Director of Community Relations for Lowe's Companies, Inc. It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you. This is actually my first opportunity to attend the Habitat Global Conference, so thank you for the invitation. And like I said, it's a pleasure to be here. By a show of hands, how many people have a mailbox? If you have a mailbox, just raise your hand. Well, I wanted to kind of talk about mailbox for this theme of every hand makes a difference. And I remember growing up, we would go and visit my grandmother, and her house was set back from the street about 25 yards. So her mailbox was right on the street. There was no sidewalk on either side of the street, so it was literally on the street. And her house was about 25 yards back. So I remember going into the house, my older brother and younger sister, and we'd all be sitting around. My grandmother would say, "Why don't you run out to the mailbox and check the mail?" And you know how kids are, everything's a competition. So we're all running, racing to get to the mailbox so you could get there first. And she would always say, "Don't run in the street." Well, there was no sidewalks, we didn't really have a choice but to run into the street. But that was a game that we played all the time, and we never imagined that the mail would not be there. And so now, you know, my parents had a mailbox. I have a house now, my wife and I, we have a mailbox. It's just something you take for granted. It's almost like breathing every day. Well, imagine if you did not have mail, and imagine for a minute that you never had mail come to your home. Well, this was actually true for a community down in Flagler County, Florida, just outside of Daytona Beach. And I got an email. All right, we got some Flagler County folks. Good to see you. Look forward to meeting you later. So there's a community down there, and I received an email from our Habitat partners in the area just said that we're working with your Lowe's Heroes employee volunteers to install some mailboxes so that they can get mail service. And I read the email, and I stopped and said, wait a minute, there's something missing. Like, why don't these folks have mail service? And so I said, well, it must be that maybe they're in some high up mountainous region that can't be reached, but there are no mountains in Florida. I said, well, maybe they're in some far out rural area where the service doesn't go, but that turned out not to be true either. This was a low income, predominantly African-American neighborhood in Flagler County. Now all these surrounding neighborhoods were receiving mail service, but this neighborhood was not receiving mail service and had not received it for 40 years. So that's a couple of generations. And so we talked, and I said, we would not be doing ourselves service if we simply installed these mailboxes and left and they still didn't have mail service. So we partnered with Habitat, our Lowe's Heroes employee volunteers. We installed over 100 mailboxes in this neighborhood. We got some extra help. The NAACP stepped in. There was a pastor that led the charge that lived in the neighborhood. And media came out, asked a few questions, and through all of our collective hands working together, we actually made a difference. The postmaster had a change of heart, and they are now getting mail service today. So I wanted to share that story because I believe it illustrates this theme of every hand making a difference. And for something that's really small to those of us that have had mail service our whole lives, it is a big thing for people who've never had it at all. Thank you.